Hi everyone, this is OCD Live. I'm Ali Grayman. We're going to be answering some questions about OCD. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. If you have a question that you would like me to answer on the next show, please leave it below any of the videos and let's get started. So before we start the show, I just wanted to address a few things. First, in between our regular shows, which I know haven't been too regular, but it's just because there's a lot going on and I have a lot of clients right now, so it's kind of hard to keep up, but I'm doing the best I can, and I'm hoping it's going to get more regular. That's my always quest. And but there's a lot of information that's coming out about OCD in terms of research that different universities are doing. So I'm thinking that between the shows, I can do videos about the latest research on OCD, because I just find that it would be really beneficial to bring this stuff up and also have the links to the articles or different information as well. So let me know what you think about it. Second thing is, I do have the recovery program still available for these few upcoming months. So there's spots there. Guys, please don't email me asking, is this not OCD or is that not OCD? I answer questions on the show, or we can do the recovery program. I can't offer anything beyond that just because my email is completely blocked with just messages, and it takes so long to get through them. And then I can't help people that actually want the one-on-one help. So I can't, I don't do reassurance. So I'm not going to give you reassurance that, well, going through your specific situation. I offer the recovery, not reassurance. If you would like to sign up for the recovery program, please, you can go ahead and email me if you have questions that are related to it, or you can sign up on youhaveocd.com under the recovery program, and we can get started pretty much right away, within a few days from when, depending on the schedule, what my schedule allows. So I hope you understand, and let's get to the questions. So the first question is, are the feelings of guilt, anxiety, and the action of analyzing are the main signals that OCD is present? Yes, well, generally speaking, guilt depends on the type of OCD you have. Most types of OCD have a guilt kind of factor, but some don't. It really depends on the specific theme. But if you have guilt, because see, the reason why you have guilt and you have all of these feelings is because the brain is trying to mimic the situation as if it was real. So if the thought was actually a real situation, you would have these feelings. So because of that, when you have an OCD thought, your brain is trying to mimic that in order to send you anxiety, in order to get you to react. Because that's the goal of the brain. It's trying to get you to react. It can't get you to react if it's not, you don't have feelings associated with this thought, if you don't care about it, right? So it has to, it's kind of like a make-believe thing, right? That it's trying to mimic the situation as if it was real to get you to react to it as if it was real. And the reason it's trying to do all this, it's trying to get you to react, is because you react with fear to the situation. So it knows that this situation is scary to you because you're continuously reacting with fear. So that's kind of why that whole thing even happens. So it's just viewing that feelings of guilt and anxiety and the push to analyze, that is already your reassurance that you have OCD. So you don't need to search anymore. If you have these symptoms, that's OCD. If it's about your same theme that you're having over and over and over again, it's OCD disregarding, not giving it that energy. Because the more energy you give it, the worse you're going to feel. And then the next question goes right along with it. The person, it's not really a question, but more a statement. The person says, don't say anything to the OCD. Don't talk to it at all. Don't engage it. Don't reply to it. Don't engage it in any way. The minute you try to reason with OCD, you lose. And it's true, but in the beginning of recovery, it's really hard to say nothing. So if you say just a little bit and then you move on, that's okay. I don't agree that it's a win or lose situation. It's more of the level that you're engaging it on. Because like my clients sometimes ask me, well, is it okay to engage it a little bit? Like, is it okay to, what can I say back to OCD? And for that, we have to go back to how does a person who doesn't have OCD would react, right? A person who doesn't have OCD, if they get a weird thought, and trust me, everybody gets weird thoughts. They've done studies on this, and the people that have OCD versus the people that don't have OCD, they have the exact same thoughts. It's just that the reaction of the person who has OCD is different, and that reaction spurs more of the same thoughts. But that initial thought, a person with OCD can have it, the person without OCD can have it. There's nothing to it. So where I'm leading with this is when a person who doesn't have OCD has a weird thought, what do? It's not like they don't engage it at all, right? They'll engage it for a second, but the way they'll engage it is, wow, this is a silly thought, I'm moving on. So it takes like seconds for the whole thing to go through its cycle, rather than with a person who has OCD. With them, the cycle lasts for a very long time, because they're going over and over and over again, and they're taking it personally. What does that say about me that I'm having these thoughts? Why am I having these thoughts and not other thoughts? They start to analyze all of that, rather than the person who doesn't have OCD. They're like, whatever, it's a weird thought, I'm moving forward with it. So they're not taking it personally. So in terms of replying to the thought, you can reply like that, from a position of power, because you're saying, yeah, whatever, I'm not paying attention. That doesn't make sense, I'm moving on. But they're not dissecting why it doesn't make sense. They're not going so deep into it to try to figure it out, right? So that's the thing that you definitely shouldn't do. So, and if you're thinking about any of your thought for more than a second, then it starts to get into the reassurance. So in my opinion, some response is normal. You need to say kind of something. Ideally, you wouldn't, but we're not robots, right? And it's difficult. So responding something is okay, but just don't do it for hours and hours and hours. Try to divert your attention. So the thoughts are coming in, the thoughts are trying to get to you, but the reaction does not need to be there, because it's the reaction that kind of kills the whole thing. It starts that process. As long as you give it no reaction, OCD cannot exist on its own without you powering it up. So you have to be constantly powering it up every single day for it to still be in the front of your mind, right? So refuse to play the game. Don't pay any attention to it. Doesn't matter what it tells you. Doesn't matter what kind of feelings you have. It's still all OCD, and just moving through it like that, not giving it any energy, because it is all about that energy that you're giving, that you're saying to your mind it's dangerous, and it's sending you the thoughts. The person says, the way the mind works reminds me of how a child attempts to get parents' attention with negative behaviors, and then it doesn't work, acts out even more to get the attention. Yeah, exactly like that. Or if you also can think of a bully, that, the bully keeps trying to get to you, and what did they, tell us, right? Always ignore the bully. Don't try to engage them. Don't give them anything more, because the more you approach them, the worse the situation gets, right? So it's refusing any energy. So next question is, why does it feel like the more I accept and allow the thoughts, the more and stronger they come? I feel like the more I allow them, the more the mind races all day long, and the more anxious I am all day. So what's happening is you are now on the path of recovery, and you're going through that very first period where the thoughts actually get worse. The reason why it gets worse before it gets better is that the mind doesn't understand that part of the mind. It's reactionary. It doesn't understand that you have this now new outlook and you're doing things different. It doesn't get any of that. It only understands your reaction. So from the mind's eye, you've been doing reassurance for a long, long time. I'm not sure how long for you specifically, but say months, whatever, years, I don't know. But for a long time. So your mind is used to that flow. It doesn't care that you are anxious or not feeling well. Your mind thinks that you are getting reassurance. It means that you're protecting yourself. So good, right? Now, all of a sudden now, you're starting to disregard the thoughts and not paying any attention to them. To your mind, that's like crossing the street on a red light. Like you're putting yourself in massive amount of danger right now, because your mind, again, is used to you getting reassurance and being in fear of this thought. Now you're choosing not to be in fear. You're choosing to put yourself in the power seat, and you're choosing to disregard. Your mind doesn't like that because it thinks that it's dangerous, because it's learned that over the course of all the previous times, right? So how can the mind prevent you from going down this path? The only thing it can do is throw you more thoughts, scarier thoughts, more vivid images, more details or whatever, and just because your mind is doing everything to protect you, and it thinks you are basically in an extreme amount of danger, because that's the pattern that it learned in the past. And this happens to pretty much everybody when they really start to go for it, in terms of recovery in the beginning. But what happens is, after a while, your mind will start, like, this will become the new normal for your mind, but you got to give it a little bit of time. So hang in there, keep doing what you're doing. Your mind is uncomfortable right now, that's good. If your mind was comfortable in OCD, such as it was before, right? Because it was giving you thoughts, but it wasn't the same way. Like, it wasn't racing like this, So it was just continuously giving you thoughts, and then you get reassurance. So, it's telling you that this is dangerous, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to protect myself, and it just goes over and over and over again. But now you're in a different kind of playing field, right? So this is just the first step. That's fine. You have to keep going and live parallel to this, and try to make as little steps back in terms of reacting. So really try to be very clean in your recovery, so to speak, right? Where every time you are doing the right thing, you're disregarding, you're moving forward. Because if you go, one time you disregard, one time you pay attention, then this initial process lasts a lot longer, and it's just much more painful. So really try to power through it. It's not going to last that long. I would say, like, the first part lasts maybe, like, depends on the person, depends on the situation, how long they had the thought. Maybe like a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks if they had it for a really long time, But it's not that long, You can power through it. If you think about it, it's like, say, 15, 16, 17 days. If you power through it, it can last 6 months if you don't, or if you do one time like this, one time like that, Because you have to send a clear message to your mind. No more, I'm not doing it this way. This is the way how things are going to run right now. And this is kind of from the previous comment that I read, when the person says it's like a child, right? The child's trying to get your attention. Well, how do we deal with that, right? What we have to do is very strict schedule and keeping to the schedule, And when you're keeping to that schedule, what happens is your mind starts to learn that this is the new way, and it starts to help you and kind of support the process rather than go against it. But it takes time, So, but it's up to you. I mean, every moment of every day, you're listening to me right now. If you're having an OCD thought, you have to put your foot down with this, because the more you allow these things to continue, the worse they get. So next question is, how would you deal with OCD relating to a harmful substance such as asbestos? I'm concerned it might be in my house, and pieces of popcorn ceiling that have fallen, and the holes in the wall, and it triggers my OCD. It's the same thing. You have to disregard these thoughts, We are all living in a great big unknown, Nobody can say for sure if their body is not developing cancer at any moment. Nobody can say for sure if, they're not going to be run over by a car the next day, or something else bad happens. We all are living in the unknown. And OCD is about controlling every aspect of a person's well-being, or in whatever way it triggers them. So it is about the control. And the more you try to reassure yourself, no, there's no asbestos in my house, everything is fine, everything is safe, the worse you're going to feel about it. Rather than saying, you know what, if I find something, I'll deal with it. Right now, I'm not paying attention to this, because this is the same thing I had to deal with for a long, long time. So I'm not doing this, I'm moving on. And just choosing to do it this way. And you will see that you start to feel better. And another thing, you need to keep in mind that OCD can switch from topic to topic. So just because you're having this specific topic right now, when you start to get on the road of recovery, and this is going back again to the previous question, if the thoughts start to feel different and come stronger when person is recovering. The other thing that might happen is the thought might not come stronger, but might switch to a whole new topic, meaning your mind says, well, okay, there's no more anxiety here, there's no more danger in this situation. How about that situation? It might be something that used to be a secondary theme to you, or it might be variation of your theme. So maybe it's not this, it's that, but that is kind of similar to this. So it has the same kind of underlining theme. So just watch the thoughts that you're having, and try to understand why you're having them, but not in an OCD way, like trying to figure it out, but seeing that common thread that all my thoughts have to do with harm, or all my thoughts have to do with some like sexual type of OCD, or all my thought has to do with religious type of OCD. So seeing kind of the spectrum of it and saying, okay, well, this is what it is. It's the same thing, it's just kind of in different clothing, but it's really the same type of thing. So viewing it that way and disregarding, because I see it a lot with my clients that the OCD will switch from one topic to another, and when they're in the process of recovery, and you have to be prepared for that, because if you're not prepared, it will get you again and you'll go back to square one. So you have to see it for what it is when the thought first hits, or very soon after it hits, so you don't start to do reassurance now on a new topic starting from square one, because you have the full control. You can choose to do reassurance, or you can choose not to do reassurance. It is really up to you. Next question is, hi, I'm suffering from OCD for 20 years, but it's taking over my life. Specifically, I'm suffering from religious OCD. I have thoughts completely opposite my beliefs. I replay and I keep rereading and rewashing. Can you help me, please? So the reason why you are having the thoughts that are the opposite of your beliefs, and this is everybody who has OCD, is because it's triggering you. If your thoughts, your OCD thoughts, were in line with your beliefs, they wouldn't be OCD, because there's no conflict. The fear wouldn't be there. So if you are, say, like if we're talking about harm OCD, say if you are a bad person, you don't care that you're a bad person. You're choosing to be a bad person. The people who have harm OCD are worried about it. So that's the difference. Same thing with religious OCD. You don't want to, whatever it is that's happening, right, say the wrong thing or think the wrong thing, right? But OCD is triggering it. So it's not the same thing, but you have to refuse the reaction. So the more you do this, like repraying, rewashing, rereading, whatever it is, the worse you're going to get with this. So you really have to put your foot down and say, you know what, no matter what my thoughts are saying, don't get into that conversation with OCD where, well, is this against my religion or is it not? Or, what, depending, like religious OCD is very common. So I talk to clients about it every day, pretty much, right? So it's always like praying wrong or saying the wrong thing, stuff like that, right? So it's not allowing OCD to get to you, right, with that. So saying, okay, you know what, this is my OCD, I don't care what it's telling me. If, say, you had a bad thought, this is because I have OCD, I'm not reacting to it. So not attributing what OCD is doing to your beliefs or to how you're, doing things like how you're praying or whatever. I'm just kind of going by what majority of people have when it comes to religious OCD. Yours might be a little different, so you have to kind of adjust. And then rewashing and rereading, okay? No, I'm not going to read. If I read it wrong, I read it wrong. I'm not going to reread. Rewashing, if it's washed bad, if there's stuff on it still, who cares? I'm moving on. If something bad happens, then something bad happens. I'm choosing not to deal with this. That should be your mindset, and this should be how you're handling OCD thoughts when they're coming in. So we've come to the end of the show. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. If you have questions, please ask below any of the videos. I'll get them no matter what video they're under. I will have a reminder out next Tuesday and have another show coming for you next Wednesday. So if you have questions, I'll answer it next Wednesday coming up. If you haven't checked out youhaveocd.com, please check it out and I'll see you in the next video.